Hey guys, Dylan here with Waller Canine. I got Benji with me today. We're gonna go through some of his training. He just got back to his house, and so we're gonna do a little on-leash training, a little off-leash training, some things that I do to help with the training process so that he stays sharp. We'll start with on the leash. We're just gonna get him moving. So when I move, I'm gonna say heel, and I'm gonna encourage him to move with me. Benji, heel. Good boy. And encouragement could mean that I pet him, or encouragement could mean that I just talk him up. Good boy, Benji, you're doing good. So when I stop, I like to put a little bit of pressure on the lead, and I ask the dog to sit. Benji, sit. Good boy. A little bit of encouragement here. Benji doesn't really like pressure at all. So whether it's leash pressure or whether it's e-collar pressure, he has a tendency to what is to freeze. Like he doesn't want to move a muscle. Whether he just gets in the mood of I don't want to continue, or I just want to stay here to avoid pressure. Either way, we kind of have to step him through it. So he doesn't necessarily like this as far as picking up the leash, but if we give him some praise, whether it's through the hand or for food, Benji, come. Good boy. You see, he doesn't even want to take the food right now, but it's okay. Up. Good boy, Benji. Good. Okay, come. And Benji, sit. Good boy. Benji, up. Good. And Benji, sit. Benji particularly doesn't care for this, but we're going to step through it. So when I ask Benji to lay down, if he knows that food is involved, this is kind of what we get. He's pretty prompt as far as laying down, and he just lays down. But if he doesn't, we'll have to put a little bit of pressure on the lead. And what I mean by that is, Benji, come. We'll sit him up here. Good. And then I'll just take my hand and say, Benji, down. Good. And we had to go through a lot of repetition for Benji to follow that lead, because what he would do is he would just freeze. Like he would put his nose in the air and kind of look at you like you were crazy. And that's all right. He just didn't understand the pressure and to comply with the pressure, so he just froze. His release is, okay, good boy, Benji. Okay, Benj. All right, buddy. Yeah, you're doing okay. So one thing that I do to help him out with leash walking is I walk backwards, okay? So we're just gonna start that. Benji, come. And I just tell him to come. Benji, come. Good boy. And I'll talk him up. Benji, come. Good boy. And when I stop, I'll pick up the leash. Sit. Good boy. Okay. Benji, come. Benji, sit. Good boy. Okay. Good boy, Benji. Sit. Good boy. And I'll like rub his tummy a little bit and tell him how smart he is and that he's an awesome dog. Good boy, Benji. You are doing so good. I know. Awesome. Benji, down. Little leash pressure here. Good boy, Benji. So one of the reasons dogs don't like to lay down is because it takes all of their freedom away. So the whole deal is dogs have teeth and they're highly mobile and they like to hunt. And so when we say, please stop hunting and sit down, which takes away 2 of your legs, and the lay down, which takes all of your legs, they don't particularly want to do that. So one thing he has to know is a release. Okay. Okay means that you're free to move about the cabin. I don't care what you do. Okay. Good boy, Mr. Benji. Good boy, Mr. Benji. Yeah, things are gonna be all right. Sweet boy. Sweet. So, in the previous, we were doing some training a minute ago, and Benji didn't like me putting him under e-collar pressure. So I'm gonna take the leash off of him, but I'm gonna try to be as light as possible on the e-collar. And it's on, well, I think we started on a level 7, so I'm gonna go back to it. But if I have to use it, I will, but I think I'm gonna try for the most part not to for the moment, just because he wanted to be by his pet parent, and he just didn't want to work because he didn't like the pressure. So we'll see how he does, but we got some food for him, so it should be fairly motivating. You still want to work, buddy? Yeah? Just a little bit? Okay. Okay, good. All right, so typical things we got. We got, hey Benji. We got Benji sit. We got Benji lay down. We got, okay, Benji's a good dog. Okay, 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 good boy. We got Benji up. That's to place. Hey, Benji, there's a lot of dogs in there, I know. And Benji up. Benji sit and stay. All right, so when we have a stay, you see, as we get farther away, he sees us as the reward source, so he wants to follow us, or he gets bored. Benji, sit. And he wants to just leave. Sit. Stay. So as a reward source, I have to continue to come back to him. So there's one step, and you see he started leaning. Hey, Benji. Good. Stay. There's a couple steps. Stay. There's a few steps. Stay. And he shouldn't know, or it shouldn't be predictable when I release him. If I always release him when I'm far away from him, he's going to start to predict me because he's reading me like a book. Once the head goes and drops or looks away, I need to come back and put pressure on him because his body follows his head. So if his head is lost and not focused, his body is soon to follow. So I step back in, put a little body pressure. Okay. And I went ahead and released him because I could tell he was a little fidgety there, or didn't necessarily want to stay on the place board for too long. So we're gonna do some more stay stuff. Benji, okay, good boy, good boy. So as you can see, Benji knows we're asking him to work a lot, so he's choosing his steps carefully, but I'm not using the e-collar. So one way that we kind of lift some of a slight bit of a pressure or whatever he's feeling is we'll just talk him up and let him run for a second. So, okay, good boy, Benji. Okay. Good boy, Benji. Yeah, you need to find it? You want to find it? Yeah, find it? So here's a come when called game I do. Benji, come. Yes. Find it? Good boy, Benji. Benji, come. Yes. Sit. Okay, find it? Good, Benji. Okay, good boy, Benji. So this is kind of like a free-floating game right now. He doesn't have to do anything. But if he wants food, he'll start guessing as to what we're asking him to do. So he just sat. Now he wants to sit because he doesn't really know what I'm asking of him. Because he's free. Okay. But he says, but you're the reward source. I want you to do something. So now he's laying down. He doesn't ever like laying down, but he's trying to figure out how does he get the reward. So this is a beautiful game that people go, oh, okay, well, it's a silly game of find it, or it's a silly game of this, or it's silly. Really what it's doing is I'm the hub and he's on spokes. So the spoke is, hey, you want to hunt over here? Good, find that over there. Now you have to come back to me because I am the reward source, and so I move around. So the come when called gets a lot easier, and also too, his focus on you gets a lot better. Up. Stay. Okay. Good. Find it. And so now that he wants to be with me, we're going to talk about position, and we're going to talk about position of heel. All right. So I'll get him in front of me. Benji, come. Usually I indicate a heel by tapping on my leg, heel. You see he looped around. That's somewhat acceptable. He's kind of in the front of me, so I'm going to tilt a little bit more. Benji, heel. And he loops around, yes. So I mark with yes or good, and then I pay. And then I continue to pay, and then I continue to pay. And the reason I do that is because I'm building his patience and maturity for this particular position. He's waiting for a release, and I'm continuing to pay as he continues to work. As he gets better and better and better, you don't have to pay as often, but he understands all the things I just mentioned. And then we'll release. Okay, find it. And when he comes back, we're gonna say, Benji, heel, and I always pat my left. Benji, heel. So he has to see the cue. I'll help him by spinning him around. Yes, I mark it, and then I treat. A lot of times people do something like this. He gets into a heel, yes, treat, like at the same time. So try to break it. Yes, for everything he does right. So I'll kind of demonstrate that as well. So this is marking for a promise of the reward, not a reward every single time that he does something good. So Benji, up. Yes. Benji, come. Yes. Benji, sit. Yes. Up. Yes. Sit. Yes. Okay, come. Good. And then he got food at the end there. So I don't really want to show my back to the camera, but I'll like reposition myself a couple times. Stay. Benji, heel. Good boy, come on, heel. A little encouragement. He knows that heel is usually backed up by pressure. So, meaning if I ask him to heel during a walk and I don't have food, he still has to be by my hip. So I just encouraged him just a little bit to get him back on the right side of the positive side of the equation. Stay. Stay. Heel. Good boy. Come on. Heel. Yes. Stay. I didn't treat him that time. There's a bug on him. Benji, heel. Good boy, Benji. Yes, good. And you see, I'm guiding with my hand, and then I have food as well. But he doesn't get food every time, and I don't always guide with food. So here again, if you're predictable, the game is easy. The dog memorizes the game. Not very fun to play. No challenge. Dog loses interest. Not focused on you, etc., etc., etc. Up. No. Up. Sit. It's the first time I use no. So some people use There, it is acceptable to have a marker that is what is to be behavior is unacceptable, or that the puzzle was he tried to solve the puzzle the wrong way. I usually stick with a hard no, and then I tell people if we can turn our no's into instruction. So if I ask him to heel and he doesn't, it could be no and then back to heel, or I might just wait and tell him what I want. Up. No. Up. Benji, up. Okay. Benji, up. Good. So sometimes I go through loopholes, which is I just broke him off of his lay to get him back up because he didn't understand just straight up. Or I'll do something like if a dog isn't going to sit from a down, I'll ask him to come and then sit, lay down. Instead of just going back to the sit, which he did, I would just go through a come. So don't get frustrated and just continue to beat your head against the wall or continue to cue the same thing if the dog doesn't get it. Try to find a loophole to go through, whether that's a come or just a release. Okay, whatever you were trying to do, I'm not really sure, but here's your freedom. Now we're gonna go back into more work. Okay, up and stay. Stay. So when you have place boards, I'm gonna scoot this in a little bit because I think it's on the edge of the screen. Up. Stay. What you can do is you can get the come when called, Benji come, directly in front of you. Yes. Stay. So we're gonna kind of just switch this up just a little bit. Benji, up. Up. Okay. Up. Good. Benji, up. Good. And sit. So the only reason I switched it up is because now we can do stay. We can do stays, and then come and call is right here. Benji, come. Good boy. Come on. Yes. Stay. Benji, stay. Come. Good boy. So sometimes it's difficult if you show your back to the dog or if you try to take the dog's back. All right, so this will lead me into another thing, which is to stay, and not pivot. So if I say stay and I walk his back, sometimes he will pivot and he'll move, which is not what we want. But it's natural for dogs to do that. They're inclined to move around. They want to see you if you're the reward source or they're taking direction from you. So generally if your dog pivots and stays in a sit or lays back down, I don't really care, but it just depends what the level of detail is. So a way to go through this is just to say stay. I hold something there in front of his face, good, and then I go ahead and treat him afterwards. So I'm just using the food as a proxy for position. Stay. When I get here, I mark it, yes, and then I treat afterwards. That way, stay. I can start to make the loop bigger. Yes. Stay. Benji, come. Yes. Ultimately, it might not matter if he pivots. I don't particularly care, but if he does pivot, Benji, sit. I would like him to go back into the posture. Sit. Good boy. Benji, okay, okay. You see, I was putting a little too much pressure with my foot there. Benji, sit. Boy. So I'm going to give him another break. I worked him really hard. He's like not overworked at this point, but you can start to tell he's getting a little slower. He doesn't really like the pressure. He's not as excited. Okay, okay, good boy, Benji. And we'll just break him. So if you feel like your dog is overworked a little bit, break him, scrub him up, tell him to use the bathroom, and let him just play for a minute. And then you can go back into work. I don't know. This has probably been maybe 15 minutes at this point. So he's still with us. He hasn't ran away yet, which is good. He hasn't chased anybody. We had a couple of walkers go by. That was good. So he's doing pretty good. He can tell that he's working. I mean, he's working right now, that's for sure. And we're always on the border of please do what I'm asking you to do and wait for your release so that I don't have to put pressure on you. But I want you to have fun and I want you to be really spirited about it. So we have to give and take a little bit on all fronts. Sometimes I try not to put as much pressure on him. If I feel like he can't handle it at that particular moment. If he's having a lot of fun, then I might put a little more pressure because I need to like focus his energy a little bit more and get him out of that like springy, I'm about to bark at you phase. Good boy, Benji. And a good way to keep a dog somewhere when you don't have food is through grooming. Just tell him he's a good boy, pet him up. Usually the stimulation of the petting and grooming as opposed to the reward will suffice enough to kind of like keep him with you and keep him engaged with you. Sometimes not if you're around a lot of dogs, but Benji's pretty good at the moment. Okay. Okay, you did really good, Benji. You did really good. Good. Awesome. So, I'm going to share another game. We're going to put a reward source down that Benji cannot get. So. Oh my goodness, Benji. Leave it. Benji, heel. Heel. Good. So, we have, Benji, heel. We have like a master reward here. Benji, heel. Benji, sit. Benji knows to leave it. Benji knows that leave it comes with pressure. Leave it means he's doing something that he shouldn't be doing. He's looking at something that he shouldn't be looking at. So we'll have this natural avoidance behavior. If not, he'll look at it, we won't mark it, or we won't tell him to leave it, and pressure won't come. He'll get food and realize that leave it doesn't really mean anything. So we use that to get him to heel. Heel, come on. Good boy. So if he seems sticky, or he freezes, heel. No, leave it. Benji, heel. Benji, come on, come on. Like here, I encourage him a little bit. Good boy, come on, Benji. Now, if I encourage him too much, he might just say, okay, well, he's being super friendly. I can get the food. Benji, come on, come on, come on. What are you eating, man? Benji, come on. Good boy. So, I'll release him. Okay. Okay. Good boy, Mr. Benji. And then I'm going to call him off of it. Benji, come. Good boy. I'll get Benji, come. Good. Okay. 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 Come on. Good. Good boy. Yeah, is he sliding around or what? Good. Benji, come. Good boy. Come on, Benji. Come on, Benji. Come on. Come on. Come on. Benji, sit. Stay. I'm going to call him over the bull. Benji, come. Good boy, Benji. And sit. So I'll kind of do this a few times. Just call him over the bull. If he looks at it or tries to go for it, I'll tell him to leave it, or I'll tell him no and to come. Benji, come. Good boy, Benji. And then he has a release, right? To, okay, okay. Benji, okay. Good boy. Go on. Hey, Benji, find it. Find it. Good boy. Benji, find it. So he knows the ball's kind of hot in the sense that we put pressure on the ball sometimes. We can do this about anything though. The deal is we have to train it. So he has seen a bowl of food many times in front of his face, and he knows it's most of the time it's a false positive or it's a booby trap. It's a training aid. So we can make training aids of anything. So sometimes people like Benji particularly has a problem with paper. So if we know that Benji has a problem with paper, I did this at my house a few times. We'll wash my hands, I'll wipe them off, and then I'll put them on the counter. I walk out of the room, I turn around and I watch Benji, and he counter surfs it, and then he's gonna get that. And he might not rip it up, or he might rip it up, but I know that, and Benji watched me do all that. And so, probably if I trained more towels, Benji would treat the towels the same way he does the food, but Benji still likes paper towels. So it doesn't really matter what it is though. So a lot of times people say, well, you know, the kids leave food on the coffee table. I was like, okay, well, that's kind of a no-brainer. But it is what it is. Sometimes paper towels, socks are a big thing. Food especially is a big thing in general. A lot of times it could just be a tennis ball, the dog drops the tennis ball. When you go to pick up the tennis ball, the dog wants to get it again. So if we know leave it or to come, whether he has a ball in his mouth or not, then it'll help us out because once he spits, if he understands to leave it, the only thing that we're trying to program here is that there's pressure associated with that particular item we're asking them to leave after we cue them to leave the behavior. So if they understand that, then and we're consistent, then what'll happen is that it'll get ingrained into them regardless of what the particular object is. But we do have to train on that object fairly consistently to keep the level up to par. So okay, Benji, okay, you're good, buddy, you're good. So we covered come, sit, stay. Let's talk about stay really quick, because what happens is a lot of the times dogs don't learn stay the right way, and then a lot of the times we don't proof the stay the right way either. So I'm going to talk about that. If we ask Benji to stay, fundamentally he should know that we're coming back to give him more food. Alright. Also too though, if we ask him to stay and he doesn't stay, we have to apply pressure immediately. Stay. And the way I do that is by picking straight up on the leash, and that gets him back into a sit. But I don't ask him to sit, I ask him to stay. So Benji heel, Benji sit, stay. So I move. If Benji moves, the leash goes straight up, which would put him back in a sit. But once he gets back in a sit, the pressure goes off, and then I tell him to stay again. This can also be proofed with the e-collar. By as soon as he gets up, we nick him for it, or put pressure on his collar, and then take the pressure off. So we just give him that much pressure, a split second of pressure, and we sit him back. So the idea is that once we say stay, if he gets up, he falls into pressure. So he doesn't want to do that. But when we start that, it's super important that he knows a release, because if he doesn't understand a release, he doesn't get the whole stay concept, because stay has to have a release. If it doesn't have a release, stay just means once mom or dad says stay, pressure is coming. Okay, good. So he has to know that once we say okay, no pressure is coming. So if stay means hold what you got, you're gonna get more food, and if you stop doing what we ask you to do, pressure is coming, then the dog will naturally just learn that like the back of their hand. But if you don't release them for anything, such as going through doorways, or sit, stay, okay, okay, or heel okay, or down okay, or whatever, and you don't have a habit of releasing him, stay is not going to stick. And the reason it's not is because you're not releasing him from behaviors. And if you're not, what ends up happening is the dog is not released for anything. So he's either distracted and he releases himself, or you realize you're done giving food, or he realizes you're so far away that you cannot apply pressure. So if the animal figures out any of those three things, they start to take the cake, or cheat, or not pay attention, or whatever you want to call it. Most people say the dog's being stubborn or he's not listening anymore. So that's the deal. We got to start small. The dog has to realize it's very rewarding to stay. You have to have some way to put pressure on the dog the second that he gets up. You have to place him back into the position that he should be in, and he has to know a release. So if we have all those things, we can stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch, and you can leave a dog in a field across the street, at your house door, whatever the case is. But that's why the e-collar is awesome, because now we have a way to put pressure on the pup if they make the wrong decision. Sometimes that could be for safety, sometimes that could just be for training, sometimes that's just because we want an off-leash dog and he needs to understand that even if he doesn't have a leash on, we still can apply pressure and or correction if needed through the collar. I'm just gonna do simple fundamental leash training with him. Benji, heel. Good boy, heel. I'll encourage him. Benji, heel. Good boy, Benji. Benji, heel. Come on. Good. I stop walking. A little pressure up on the leash. Just sit. Good. I point to the floor. Down. Good. If I had to, I'd put pressure towards the floor. I'm going to tell him to stay. It's a test. I tug on his leash. If he stays, good boy. I come back. This is the praise. Stay. Good boy. I see a lot of stay, stay, stay. It doesn't, don't do that. You don't have to say that all the time. If you do, it means that whatever pressure or correction you're putting on them, if they get up, is not effective or not respected. So that means that we got to go back with a leash. He has to understand his release, and we may have to use a different form of correction, whether it's e-collar, whether it's leash, something the dog isn't getting there. So stay. The reason I put pressure on it is because if he doesn't know stay, he'll fall into this pressure, i.e. he won't resist it. But Benji knows stay. Okay, good. And you see I didn't take the pressure off. He released the pressure as soon as I said okay. But he resists that pressure because he knows if he gets up and follows the pressure or gets tricked by it, he's running into more pressure. So he's willing to resist light pressure so that he doesn't have to get corrected. So it tells us psychologically Benji understands. And I'm going to go through that one more time. Sit and stay. So here's the loophole. He laid down. I don't want that. Come. Good. Sit. So we're back into it. So I don't have to just be a punk and get him to stay. So there's the tug, 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 stay. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Okay. Good boy. And so that kind of shows you the other side of stay. If he's staying, we can encourage him, such as good boy. But nobody really wants to encourage their dog for stay because they feel, or the dog is taught, that stay is only for fear and pressure. But we can encourage the dog to stay if he understands stay correctly. I'm going to do that one more time. Stay. Here's the pressure. Stay. He fell into it. Hey, sit up. Sit. Good. Stay. He's fighting the pressure. Good boy. Good boy, Benji. Good boy. Okay. Good boy, Benji. So we can encourage the stay. Stay doesn't always have to be a fearful thing or a bad thing or a pressure thing if he learned it properly. All right? And then here's one last thing. When I take the leash off, I might put the leash back on. I'll tell him what I want. Sit. Sit. Good boy. Good boy. Sit. Good. So what we're doing is just flooding him with the collar. So Benji has a tendency to pull his head out of the collar. Good. And he thinks he's going to get rewarded by additional freedom, which he is. So what I'll do is I'll put my hand in the collar, sit, and then I'll take it off. So he doesn't feel as though he's breaking free from his collar. Stay. So it's either usually sit or stay, and I praise him. Good boy. Stay. Sit.
Talks everywhere. Coming at me.
Stay. So here's point in question. Stay. Stay. Sit. Good. Stay. And the reason I do that is because if I unleash my dog and he has his attention on another animal or something that is very desirable, he's going to take that unleashing and he's taken all of his freedom, but he wasn't released. So he shouldn't do that. So if you have an e-collar, we can back that up by putting pressure on him if he gets up. But the better, more simple way to do it is just flood him with the leash on and off. Praise, 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 praise. And then just catch him. I do this. This is my trick. I make a loop with the leash. All right? So now he feels as though he doesn't know. He knows the leash is on him now. But now I put another leash on him. And I just took the leash off. And where's he going to go? And dogs will do this every time. They'll try to run away, but I have the leash on them, and they'll get hung. So, one of the things I always say when you get frustrated with your dog, I say, it's okay, be smarter than the dog, all right? So, when you get frustrated, it's because the dog outwitted you, and you shouldn't be frustrated, because you just got outwitted by a dog. But really, if you just rethink it, we can be smarter than the dog, and we can be smart to the dog and teach the dog that there are traps and tricks, and we will set them to teach them lessons. The dog does that to us all the time. Little traps and tricks for hunting animals, or just for play, or just to get what they want and get the reward faster. So, okay, yeah, you're good. Here's another thing, all right? If your dog is taking the cake, or you feel as though you're losing progress, leave the leash on the dog. It's his weight to drag. He has become one with the leash. It will slow him down. It will allow you to correct or control your puppy dog without putting your hands on him. All right? So if you're not using the e-collar, or if you feel as though he just wants to play a game of chase, or he wants to evade and elude, you need to put the leash on the dog. Don't leave the leash on the dog if you leave the house. Don't do anything like that while you're in his presence and you can monitor his safety. What you're gonna do is just leave the leash on so you can drag it around. So there's another dog across the street, all right? So Benji's focus is on the other dog. So I'm gonna trick him, but it's not a trick. Okay, go on. Okay. Good. Go on, Benji. Go on, yeah. Go on, Benji. But I have it. He's not going anywhere. Okay, right. But what I'm doing is saying, you have complete freedom. I'm winding him up. Go on, Benji. And then he gets corrected for it. That was a silly mistake, Benji. You know, right? And then you could just say, Benji, come. Good boy. And he gets rewarded. So it doesn't always have to be a bad thing, but the other side of it is pet parents are just sit. And all this frustration builds, and the pet is looking at something he wants, and he's like caught in between. He just wants to go have fun with the animal, which is super innocent, and then you're just in like a really negative frame of mind. Just set the trap on him. Let him have all the leash space in the world. Tell him it's okay to make the wrong decision, and then you have him, right? So, and at the same time, you can wind him up. So the reason I like doing it is because if I can wind my dog up, and he knows it's the wrong decision, and he doesn't take it, now I can start to take the leash off my dog. Because he knows what he wants to do. I'm winding him up and tell him he's okay to go do it, but he still knows it's the wrong decision. And so we can start to trust him. It's even better if you have a 15 or 20 foot leash on, because then they really start to feel free. And they'll hit the end of the leash a little harder, and they'll learn a lesson. I do this with my dogs and cats. They love cats. But at this point, my dog just sits there and his legs shake and rumble because he wants to go to the cat, but he doesn't go to the cat. It makes me feel real secure, even though I know what he wants to do, and he just chooses the right decision, even though he's super hyped up. So it helps me out. Will he always make the right decision? Probably not, but I know that we've gone through it, and he knows better. So he did really good. Ultimately, what I don't really care if he wants to go meet another animal. He should still come when I call him. He shouldn't bark, and he shouldn't lunge at the end of my leash. So if he hits the end of my leash, I call him. If he barks, I usually create some space, or I'll give him a tone of disapproval, like no or shh. Or I'll clap my hands and let him know that's not cool. Please don't do that. And I'll usually start to call him and reel him in like a fish so that I can separate him from whatever stimulation in the environment is taking him to a vocal level or some sort of reactivity. Benji did a pretty good job today. There's an e-collar side of this component, and so we're gonna roll right into that, all right? I'm only gonna use the tone here, and so it's gonna be a game of follow me. Benji heel. Every time I say heel, Benji heel, he's gonna hear the tone, okay? Benji heel. Good. So heel, tone. Good boy, Benji. And right now, you can be a stickler and say only on the left-hand side. Usually this is like an off-leash drill, and I will make it an off-leash drill in just a second, as long as Benji does good. So Benji heel, he'll hear a little tone. Good boy, Benji. Now when he's with me, it's okay to encourage him. Benji heel, good boy, Benji. Good boy. Benji heel, good boy, Benji. So hopefully Benji doesn't realize he has all of his freedom and run off the camera, but we're gonna see. Benji heel, good boy. Benji heel, good boy. Good boy, Benji. Good boy, Benji. Little praise, good boy, Benji. Benji heel, little tone, okay? Ooh. Benji heel, come on, good boy. So if the collar's doing the pressure side, I need to be the coach to guide, assist, and encourage. All right? So he can say, okay, collar on my neck, pressure. How do I get out of it? I listen. I can listen my way through the pressure. If I make the proper decisions, no pressure comes, or the pressure will stop as soon as I make the right decision. Obviously, he's in caution mode. I always encourage people, use the e-collar when he has a lot of stimulation in the environment and he wants to hunt or run, or he has off-leash capabilities and you need to protect him from streets, roads, woods, running animals, but he has a long way to go. So he can use his legs, and so when he associates e-collar, he goes, e-collar, outside, freedom, joy, chase, run, awesome. So we might be using this for fetching, we may be using this for some woods or a trail park or something like that, a big stretch of land, or if we're going to like walk off into the neighborhood. So for pet parents, if you can master your front yard and your driveway, maybe then the street, maybe just the neighbors to the left or the right, then we stretch that. The dog can still maybe even be on a retractable leash, or they can drag their leash if you have a leash you don't care that drags to the street. And if your neighborhood or a particular place allows it, then you can go ahead and take the leash off. But you've done some things along the way. So lesson we're going to take away from that: use the e-collar for repetition and training purposes, not just corrections. And then go as light as possible. You can see Benji didn't like that drill particularly. So okay, you did good. Okay, come on. You're gonna be all right, Mr. Benji. You're gonna be okay, Mr. Benji. Oh, Mr. Benji. You guys should be a sweet boy, okay? putting you through the paces today. Oh, sweet boy. Okay, go see mom. If you guys have any questions, hopefully this helps with the training or with any questions you may have had. Okay. Yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know. I'd love to help. This should help you in your process or keep your dog sharp either way. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.